Has life ever pulled you through a complete unraveling and into a massive identity shift, even when you weren't ready? My guest today is Jennifer Little, a creative artist and the former owner of several boutiques, including the beloved Heyday. After selling Heyday in 2024, Jen entered a long season of quiet introspection and rebuilding from the inside out until she finally could name what she's here to do in the next phase of her life. In this conversation, we dive into why our bodies hold the truth that our minds keep circling around, how transitional phases of life can be gateways instead of just endings, what it means to truly trust yourself, how numbing out might be costing you pain and pleasure, and a lot more. Welcome, Jen Little, the one and only Jen Little.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy to be here with you.
I am too. This is really special for me. This is a long time coming. Everything that brought us here is what we're going to talk about today. But I'd like for people to know how we met and when we met. So I actually met you. I don't know if you remember, but I came here house hunting with my mom. It was March of 2018.
Okay.
And I did not know a soul in Fort Collins. But we were moving here nonetheless. And so I was looking for a place to rent. And I came in Heyday. And you were so friendly and so welcoming. And we talked about being from Georgia. And I thought, well, at least I'll have a friend. I think you even said, oh, I'll introduce you to people and you can be a part of our book club and etc. And I just felt so welcomed. Like, I can do this. I can move my family across the country and there's going to be someone there for me. It meant everything. So then when we came here, a couple months later, I think I came back to Heyday, talked to you, joined the book club, which I think we've probably both been kicked out of since then because we never read the books. And again, just very welcoming. We realized that our sons, or my younger year older son, are the same age, and they became friends, and we hung out a lot as they were growing up with neighborhood families, and just what a great community. What a great place to raise kids.
I remember that. I mean, I remember the first time you came in. I remember what you were wearing. You were wearing a long, beautiful floral dress.
Oh my gosh.
I think you were with your mom.
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember that moment. And I was just enamored with you and just so hopeful that you would move here. I didn't remember the date, so that was fun to hear. May 2018.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we talked about both of us being from Georgia and our boys, and what ended up being such a, and continues to be a very deep, like almost sisterhood. I feel like an immediate understanding of one another. But what's transpired and what's grown is like this parallel progression in our lives. Because, we won't see each other for months or
I know.
longer. And then when we run into each other, it's like, oh, wait, you've been doing that too? Or you've been on this journey too?
I have chills.
And that we are literally just maybe a couple hundred yards away from one another. I feel like this is a little vortex that we're in our neighborhood, and that we're both doing our inner work and our spiritual work within our homes and within our lives. And then when we reconvene and we reconnect, we're so excited to talk about what we've learned, what we've been doing, how we've grown, and also how we can support each other in the next step, in the next phase. Because that's been scary for me. I mean, I've gone through different phases of like teaching yoga, doing this water therapy, this Watsu work. But honestly, talking about women's sensuality and women's bodies is scary.
Yeah.
And you were so encouraging to me. And you're like, I really think you ought to do this and give it a go because it could help women.
The feminine energy that you have always just emitted is just so beautiful and comforting to other women to give that permission to step into that. And you were doing that long before where you are right now. It's just so beautiful and such a breath of fresh air, and you have such a calming presence that just allows women to kind of take an exhale and breathe into who they are and be okay exploring and looking at who they are innately and just allowing that to come forward. And so honestly, it would be a disservice to God for you not to do this work because it is such a gift that has been installed in you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I feel this way about your creative work.
Mm,
Wow, we're actually working with the same chakra. We're both working with second chakra. I mean,
yeah.
you create, you grow a baby, you have sex. All of that is like the senses and this area of work, which
Mhm.
is our powerhouse.
Mhm.
Again, kind of working in parallel. But
Mhm.
I've been so inspired with, I think you were a photographer before Heyday, right?
Mhm. Yes.
But you continue that and you've integrated that, as I understand it, with painting and with the beauty. You did interior design, correct? So, another
Yeah.
thing I love. And you've kind of woven all of that together. So, there's the style, there's the beauty of your presentation, your beauty of what you're capturing on canvas, the beauty of what you're capturing when you take portraits. And I love your portrait style too because it's not studio fixed posed.
Mhm.
It's very organic and people are in motion and you feel them rather than how they are posed like still life.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you integrate that and what you're doing now with all of the above.
Yeah, that has been such a fascinating unfolding for me over these last 25 years or so. I have ventured into so many different areas of creativity from interior design to photography to retail design. And I have always had this continuous thread, this belief that all creative systems share the same foundation and the same principles: color, pattern, texture, scale. What I have discovered in this new evolution of this creative work, which is about the inner beauty, is that those principles still apply. And I'm doing the exact same work, the exact same interior design, but what was once for the exterior and for homes and for spaces is now of the heart. And I'm seeing the same patterns come to life: pattern, color, texture, scale. Doesn't matter how big or how small these things are that we face, it's the journey that we're on. I've always had this feeling when I photograph someone that the way you love is perfect. I always want to capture just the most authentic essence of a person, the absolute inner beauty within someone. And a lot of times over the years, the photos that are my absolute favorites, sometimes people don't like them. And it just is me being able to see something that they are not able to see yet. This journey that I've been on, which has been taking people into the descent within themselves, the descent into beauty is what I call it, and descending into their hearts. I have wanted to find a way to incorporate photography into that. And I've recently had some clarity around what that will look like. And I just want to be able to have deep conversations with people, taking them into a meditative space, into their hearts, into their truth, and photograph them through that process,
Mm.
almost like a journalistic approach, so that not only are they connecting with that depth within themselves, but then they're able to see this photo and this moment in time captured of that emotion and that sigh of, okay, it's safe to be me. That's all kind of unfolding right now. The photography piece, along with this descent into beauty.
Mm.
I had a very clear communication from God about 2 years ago where I was told, "You are here because you can see the beauty in all things and all people, and you're here to help people see that within themselves." And I've been on this journey the last 2 years to bring that to fruition, to a tangible place. Um, and it's taken a lot of descending into myself and unraveling and letting go of a lot of parts of myself to have the clarity of how I am here to take that into the work for other people.
I would say that you're a connector as
Mhm.
well. I mean, you've connected me to some very special people, special practices. That's another gift I feel like you carry.
Thank
Um,
you.
so you said this started about 2 years ago.
Mhm.
So when we met, you owned Heyday, and I think you then started Knapsack, right? And then the store in Denver. Um, which I was going to ask you how things went during COVID. Because here in Colorado, we were quite shut down. I mean, at that time, I was teaching yoga and we moved everything to online, which was just did not work for me. Couldn't see what people were doing. I had multiple kids here doing their schoolwork every day and, being in class every day. So things changed a lot, especially for people here during COVID. And I wonder if that's what you're talking about. Like you said 2 years ago, but I wonder if 5 years ago when COVID started, if that was um, a big pivot point for you and how, like maybe some of the gifts that you took away from being a retail shop owner for how many years was it?
9 years.
Mm.
9 years. Yeah. Yeah, we opened in August 2015. 2020 was a huge pivot year for me, almost an initiation year. It was July 2020, and I had another very clear message from God come through, and it was, "You need to go on a spiritual journey." I remember, I mean, I was sitting on the back porch, and this just came straight in. That truly began the initiation of all of this work. And there was still a lot that I had to go through from 2025 up to 2024. April 2024 is when I sold the store, including COVID and that process. So the year before, May 2019, we opened our Denver location. By November 2020, we had closed it. We reopened Heyday with one location, and then we rebranded Knapsack to Mountain for a short period of time until January 2021 when the lease actually expired for that space, and we just let that space go. Again, that was also another huge initiation for me because it allowed me to face my own demon of competition, um, because there was another business that was now able to come into that space, and whereas before I kind of had both retail spaces at Jessup Farm. So that was truly an initiation for me and a crumbling of a control that I had. And I never really realized how much competition could be such a controlling puzzle piece within myself. But that was 2021 to, I don't know, the next 2 years was truly an unfolding of letting go of competition and learning to surrender.
Such a tough lesson, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and I fought it and fought it and fought it until I finally didn't.
I did the same thing. I remember when you and another friend of ours were in a week with Joe Dispenza, and you're talking about these downloads from God, which I think it's so valuable to talk about these things. When I used to be in a meditation group, we were told not to talk about things that are called cities. And cities are, they're more like special powers that you have, but also special experiences that you have. We were discouraged from talking about them.
Fascinating.
I feel like when you have major, significant, sacred spiritual experiences, that in this day and age, it's very important to talk about them.
Mhm.
I mean, to be careful about it, but because we don't have this kind of inspiration, we don't hear about these things so much anymore. And it's really important for people to know that they still happen
Yeah.
and that God is still here.
Mhm.
So when we were at that Joe Dispenza week, it was about the second or third time that I had had something similar. I don't know how you received your messaging, but for me, it's very somatic. It's
Mhm.
happened a number of times since then, um, on several different Greek islands. In fact, one was where St. John received the book of Revelation from direct receipt from God. He was in a cave. And so I got to sit in that cave and I had another experience of just receiving like all the love of the universe.
Mhm.
And I really feel like it's important for people to know, just if that gives someone hope, that
Mhm.
they know and that you opened your heart to receiving from God and you got those blessings that have changed your life, it sounds like.
Absolutely, and that we each have access to that within our hearts, within ourselves, right here. So often, we're taught to look up and outside of ourselves. God is right here if we will get quiet enough to listen. It's truly just it's truly such a beautiful thing and something that I want people to know that that access is there.
Yeah, I agree. I've had a similar experience with Mary. And when I was growing up, one of my grandmothers and my great grandmother, they always used to tell me to pray to Our Lady of Fatima. They were Portuguese.
Mm,
And I had no connection to her, I didn't think, um, until a few years ago. And it's really changed my life. And then I talked to one of my uncles, and he's had a similar experience as well. These threshold kind of points that we reach, I feel like there are these liminal spaces through which, if we just listen and pay attention, God can reach us. And there's sometimes like the hardest, like you say, you fought, and so did I. And still, I'm still fighting. Even just starting this podcast, I
mhm,
was fighting. That these spaces, the resistance that we put up against the hard thing is sometimes what we're called to do. It's why we
mhm,
came here. I don't know why we have this resistance that we have to push through, but we do. And I thank you for helping bring me out of mine. I'm
mhm,
out of my cave. I mean, it's what it is. And something I've been noticing, especially in 2025, is that some of us who are like naturally introverted and
mhm,
very comfortable being alone,
mhm,
being in, just doing our things, I feel like we've been pulled out.
mhm.
It's like it's time.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I would have necessarily chosen.
Mhm,
When I look back, though, about what I was like as a child, I love performing.
mhm,
I loved playing. I loved singing, dancing, all of it. And somewhere along the way, I kind of got the message that I was really just supposed to be quieter and sweet and scholarly, you know?
mhm,
And I think it's important for us to know that there are many facets of us, that there are a lot of archetypes we can embody, not just one, and maybe not the one that we grew up with,
Mhm.
that we can change. And actually very liberating to change, to like even, feel like you're changing your your clothing, your skin, your mask.
Mhm.
That wow, it's very liberating and it's very scary. Yeah, maybe you want to talk about this transition point, this threshold that you've come through and what it was like,
Yeah, I will.
what the magic is in it.
Yeah, I have felt so deeply a new threshold just within the last 2 months that I've been asked to step across. It is really scary. Also so beautiful and such an opportunity to trust and to follow the nudge and to follow the voice of what is the message that you're here to share, or what is the purpose that you're here to step into. After I sold Heyday April 2024, about 19 or 20 months ago, I thought I would go into a space of retreat for like a month or so and then have clarity on, okay, here's your next assignment. It truly has been 19 months of just being with myself. Of course, taking care of my family and kids and that sort of thing. But it was almost like, okay, we've got to go through this purging process first for you to even be able to comprehend what it is you're here to do. That was a frustrating and challenging and arduous process of, did I miss the turn? Did I am I completely missing something? And always returning to just keep going, just keep descending. And I had this knowing of, you got to follow this trail to the bitter end. I always came back to that. And I always came back to this message of beauty and it being such a bigger thing than any beauty we could ever describe. And so I had those trailheads to guide me. It wasn't until this fall that I really started to receive little bits of invitations
Mm.
into sharing a little bit about what is on my heart and what I want people to know about and what I want people to feel within themselves. And I really think, I mean, I can see the bigger picture more so now, of course, than I could 19 months ago. But one thing that is, I think, pertinent to this conversation is the transition out of heyday into this void. Because as I worked through that shedding of the competition piece, I also began to almost have heyday kind of pulled away from me, truly in the best possible way. I felt myself like disconnecting from heyday, which was such an identity I had for so long. That was really the only way a lot of people knew me. But I started to feel a little bit of a disconnection between all of the function of helping people get dressed and really transitioning into a place where I wanted them to get to the root of why they felt uncomfortable in what they were putting on. And I knew that I needed to let that go so that I could delve deeper into this other piece of getting to the root of the discomfort that we have with ourselves. Sales kind of started to decrease and it just it came to a place where it really wasn't sustainable to have our full household income supported by the store, because Ryan was on board at Heyday as well. I also got to a place where I was ready to just walk away. December 2023, I told Ryan, I said, "I think I'm gonna close the store in January." And he said, "Why don't you let me work the store in January and you take some time off?" I'd received an invitation to go to Peru, and so I went to Peru in January. That's where I received the message about this piece of beauty. Not long after that, probably 2 months after that, I received another very clear message of the exact person I was to reach out to and ask if she would like to buy Heyday. I did that. I also was doubting that as well. But I did that. I reached out to her, and 2 months later, she purchased Heyday. And yesterday, she sent me a message and she said, "I just wanna say thank you. Thank you for Heyday. It has been such a blessing." And it was just, such a perfect blessing for her, and it's such a perfect blessing for me of it's time for me to move on, and it's time for someone else to allow this to bless them.
What a serendipity.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Truly.
How did you emerge? Were there practices that you started to do? I mean, 19 months or so, right?
Mhm.
What are you doing during that time? What is it that's leading to your evolution? What is it that how do you fill your days when you were so busy before? Yeah, I'd really like to know if you had certain practices that helped you go through that sort of dark period, I assume, of recreating your identity and
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. The first month, I physically worked in the yard, and that felt like a grounding practice, like I was digging and cleaning and clearing and working in the yard and just being outside in the dirt. Almost like burning energy as well. I was also working on some paintings. I was working on a really, really big piece. I can't remember the dimensions exactly, but it was at least 60 inches by 60 inches. And so I was also working on that piece, which was just big, and I was working on it outside in the garage, in the yard. It was a big canvas, and so that was helpful immediately. As I continued to progress through this process over the 19 months, I would go through periods of time where I would work on paintings or a painting collection. That was really helpful for me as well because I could just express without interpreting it and just letting form take shape. That was a big piece of my practice. But alongside that, always I was meditating and getting into nature and spending a lot of time in the forest. I mean, sometimes hours at a time. And that was such a grounding practice. There were days that I would walk through the river, just down the river, all the way down the river. And I would just allow myself to meander through the forest, off the trail, looking at little minute things. And that was something that really brought me back to my childhood because I grew up on a dirt road in the woods, on the marsh, and that was what I did. When I was by myself, I was outside just exploring, or I was with my friend and I was just out exploring and using my imagination and just allowing myself to kind of be one with nature. And sometimes I would meditate in the woods as well, and a lot of writing as well. Um, that has been a big practice for me. So I would say this creative piece, the writing piece, the meditation, and really going in and listening to what needs to be communicated to me. Um, sometimes that would be through guided meditations. More so at the beginning of the 19-month period, it was more guided meditations, and then I moved into just frequency music or, just classical music. Um, I have come to love piano and violin and just string music so much. And then moving it into more of a silent meditation practice where I try to get as silent as I possibly can with earplugs, headphones on top of the earplugs, and really just moving into that practice. And then over this last year, I really learned this practice of going in and communicating with the unconscious to understand what is it that the unconscious is feeling that needs to be heard and needs to be seen. And that has been such a transformative practice for me because through that, I have been able to see why I have had such a battle with being seen my whole life. While I thought I wanted to be seen and why I was so often triggered by not being seen, I actually discovered in my unconscious I was scared to be seen. And so bringing those two, the conscious, which wanted to be seen, and the unconscious, which was scared to be seen, into balance, into a place of harmony and trust with each other, I feel like that is what has allowed me to step forward inch by inch into this place of showing myself.
Yeah. I've done so much subconscious work along the same lines of like, what would this mean for me to take up space in this way, to speak out in this way, to talk about things that people in my family may be uncomfortable with? There's all of that.
Mhm.
And for me, a really important part of my work personally and now professionally too is going into those hidden recesses and finding the little girl who was like, "Hey, remember me? You promised me we were going to do this."
Mm.
Or like the parts of myself that were cast off because
Mhm.
they just were not acceptable in some way, or I thought they weren't.
Yeah, and one thing that I have learned through that exact process, and I love this because the last time we met, we didn't talk about this, and this is exactly proof of the parallel that is unfolding as we are 200 yards apart, is that most of these things that I have been uncovering in my unconscious were not necessarily things that someone told me. It was just energies or beliefs that I picked up and took on as a burden for myself because of whatever reason, a sensation that it wasn't okay to fully express. Or, I had clarity the other day that my 4th grade self learned that she needed to be the best in order to be seen. What I realized is that I was always trying to be someone else's best rather than, like, I am the best me there is. And just giving her that love of, I'm sorry that you have taken this on my behalf all the way from 4th grade until now, that no one ever told you as you are the best. Yeah, really embracing the depth of the messages that are within ourselves that just wanna be seen and heard.
Yeah, and I don't think it has to be explicitly stated to us,
Mhm.
but we absorb what's acceptable, as we're growing up.
Yes, definitely.
Um, and I think the area that we're from in the country is the Bible Belt.
Mhm.
So some people's interpretation of that can be limiting in terms of women expressing sensuality, for example, or
Mhm.
even talking about some of the practices that we do. I mean, I know even meditation was sort of confusing for some people when I started that when I was 18. It was like, what will my grandparents think of that? No.
Right.
So yeah, it's not always explicitly stated. It's not always something that someone said directly to us.
Mhm.
It's something we internalize. And it's almost like the man behind the curtain.
Mhm.
He's really directing us throughout our lives, and we can't necessarily pinpoint where that influence is coming from, but it's so powerful.
It's so powerful, and one thing that I have really been sitting with are the shoulds, how the things that we think we should do are such a pathway of invitation into our unconscious, because if it's something we think we should do, we likely don't want to. But in our conscious mind, we feel like we should do it. And our unconscious mind is saying, I don't want to do that. And if we can go in to that place, we can actually have an understanding of why. And there might be something greater and more aligned waiting for us. Well, there will be. There will be. And even a gift of how we could show up even more with more depth and with more love in a way of service versus the way we feel like we should because of whatever reason that has formulated in our minds.
When you were growing up, did you have mentors who offered you like a different perspective than, say, your parents, or maybe saw something in you that your family didn't see? Did you have anyone, especially women, who were embodying something that you didn't see in your family?
I had this beautiful lady at my church. Her name was Cassie. And she always shared with me that you don't have to be at church to have a relationship with God. I've always been so grateful for that because I just thought it was so beautiful and true. It's God is available to us in so many ways through art, through nature, through friendships. And I loved that perception of almost like taking the shame away of what you should do. And it's just always stuck with me. It truly is okay to explore your own avenue of navigating life.
And at the same time, I feel like a mentor who's embodying something is someone who's showing you the way.
Mhm.
And that's why I chose the word mentor rather than like a coach, or even it's a very different position, I feel like, because you can see like, no, this person's doing it. Like
Mhm.
this is what it looks like. And for example, when I was doing a lot of meditation, when I was learning Kundalini, there was a guru. There was someone who seemed to have all the answers, and you were supposed to do it that way. And I feel like that way of being is crumbling, and that now we look to each other. I look
Mhm.
to you, I look to other women. I had mentors growing up who were very different from my mom, different from my aunties, and they embodied something.
Mhm.
And I saw a different way of being a woman. So I feel like the day of the mentor has also arrived. Like there's no hierarchy in that.
Mhm.
There's I'm walking the path with you.
Yes.
I'm learning alongside you. I don't have the answers, but perhaps I've gone down this path before. So maybe I'm holding the light. Maybe I'm like one step ahead, maybe not, but that we're all on this path together. And I feel like so much of a hierarchy is not necessarily the way, like showing up to someone, then they have a certain degree, or they have a feeling of having the answers, or,
Mhm.
they're educated in this way. But I'm very inspired by mentors. I look to you as being one of those. I wonder, do you have any mentors or teachers now that you work with or learn from?
I have spent the last year, almost the entire last year, but definitely a good portion of it, working with a mentor. Her name is Jamie Thompson, and she has taken me through a program that she called Alchemy. And it was truly this program of descent, a program that where she guided people into this sensuality and cervical work and really showing me a way of connecting with God through myself and through my body and through this channel that we have within our body, and how our cervix is connected to our vagus nerve, which is connected to our pineal gland, and it's all connected. And if we can give ourselves permission to access ourselves in this way, then we really have a direct pathway to communicate with God within ourselves.
Absolutely. I almost think this is probably what was taught in the feminine mystery schools of a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because, again, feel you need a mentor to learn this kind of thing. You're certainly not going to learn it in sex ed. You're
Mhm,
not going to learn it from porn. You're not going to learn it from many books because it's still a mystery.
mhm.
This innermost part of our bodies as women is still a mystery to most women. It
Yeah.
was to me even a few years ago.
Mhm,
And I totally agree that cervix is innervated by, I think, three primary nerves. More than any other part of our anatomy, it is, I think, where we connect to the depths of ourselves, to the divine.
mhm.
And maybe that's why it's a mystery, because once you connect to that, that's your power.
Yeah, and why perhaps it has been so downplayed, ignored, hushed.
It was a
Be
threat.
Yeah,
Mm.
because to delve into that beauty that is within ourselves, to feel it and to understand it and to believe in it and to gain that trust within ourselves, I don't know if there's anything more powerful in connection with God.
I agree. So we should start a mystery. That's what you're saying.
I feel like I've been in mystery school.
Yeah, totally. But we've also pieced together so many different practices over
Mhm,
the years. I mean, I know when we've run into each other or met up that it seems like hundreds of different practices and techniques and ways of being that we have woven together into where we are now. And I feel like we've taken the really most powerful practices and brought those into what we're doing. And they're not that complex. I
mm,
mean, if you think about it, it's sensuality, it's creativity, it's connecting to yourself, connecting to your body, meditation practice, and the subconscious work, essentially.
yeah. As I've been working through this descent myself, what I wanted to figure out for other women is, what is it that will take someone straight to the root wound so that they can get to that wound and see the gift that is on the other side of it. I don't want to waste any time for a woman that I'm working with, taking them around and about the very thing that could take them into their purpose so that they could step into a place of service for other women.
Mhm.
And so I feel like that has been the ultimate desire of doing this work, is like, okay, what is the pathway to get right to that depth?
I feel like for me, my path certainly was not linear. So I think for a lot of us women,
Mhm.
we're taking a circuitous or a spiral path. It's not linear, so we go in one direction and then we have to back up. And I hear you, though, wanting to offer people the most direct path.
Mhm.
I also feel like our society is so pain averse,
Yes.
and this is a pain portal,
Mhm.
quite frankly.
It is.
The descent that you're talking about
Mhm.
is like the Persephone of the myth of descent,
Mhm.
and it's by design, involves pain.
Mhm.
And so if you tell someone, "First, we're gonna go down,"
Mhm.
it's so scary. I think it's another reason why we need someone there walking with us. We
Mhm.
need someone to hold our hand sometimes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna go down kicking and screaming, and I think we do at certain points in our lives. It's unavoidable.
Mhm.
You're either gonna go or you're gonna be dragged down.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
I agree.
But if you have someone with you
Mhm.
who has been there or walked a similar path or been down in the depths,
Mhm.
makes it a little bit more manageable. Yeah, I think it's because we're so pain averse and that there isn't really one direct way. But what you're doing with creativity is allowing women to find their way a bit more gently,
Mhm.
finding their way of expression. After that, pain portals, potentially pleasure portal too.
Yeah.
They're both ways to God, they're both ways within.
Yeah, that has been one thing that I've been sitting with is what is it that keeps people from being willing to descend? I mean, I think there's probably a lot of reasons. Yeah, the pain piece is scary.
We're numbing out all day
Mhm.
long.
Mhm.
We're numbing out, we're disconnecting from other people. I
Yeah.
mean, just I think of how most people are spending their day and dopamine hits and immediate gratification.
Mhm.
It can either be a conscious choice or something that you're led to kind of by fate
Mhm.
because this is Earth school and we came here to learn. And either way, you're going to have lessons. So sometimes voluntarily, it's like, no, I am at a transition point, whether it's new motherhood, divorce, empty nester, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm at a transition point now, and I'm going to voluntarily go through it.
Yeah.
I'm ready. And speaking of empty nesting, I'm almost there. And I wonder how you feel about that. You're almost there in a
Mhm.
few years. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those points, right? Like, who am I now? My
Mhm.
identity is changing. I mean, I was a traditional wife a lot of the time that the boys have been growing up. Spent a lot of time at their schools and teaching at their schools, even. What an opportunity now because they don't need me as much.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Do you find like this is a threshold point too as you see them being more independent?
I definitely do. It is the ultimate bittersweet experience, but, I'm really excited to see what life has in store for Luke as he adventures out and beyond, and then just more time for us with even Emery one-on-one and more time for me with Ryan. Emery is 2 years behind Luke. Since they've entered high school, it has been a process that I've been navigating for sure, and just allowing myself to feel the grief and the unknown of it all. I think that is such an important part of this work too, is just allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is that we're feeling, whether that is a sensation in our body or an emotion that's coming up for us. But if we can just go to that place and allow it and feel it, oftentimes it dissipates or it takes us into a descent where we can discover a part of us that wants to share something with us. And on the other side of that is that beauty again. But just feeling it, and I feel like that has been such a theme that I've tried to share with Luke and Emery too, of just allow yourself to feel what it is that you're feeling. If you can't figure out what the feeling is, where are you feeling it in your body? And go there and start there and just allow that tightness in your chest to be there or that churning in your stomach or that pit in your stomach, or the tightness in the throat, or Luke calls it having like my head feels like I have a swimmy head. Um, and just allowing ourselves to feel those things.
Yeah. Rather than heading for some way to numb it,
Mhm.
some way to avoid it, some way to escape it.
Yeah.
What great techniques. I mean, that's wonderful you're teaching your kids that. I feel like we have an epidemic of that,
Mhm.
of numbing out and avoiding what's uncomfortable. We have a lot of pharmaceuticals for that, but
Mhm.
they don't get to the root of
No.
what's going on. It's not my place to talk about pharmaceuticals, but I do feel they sort of flatten everything. It's like grayscale.
Mhm.
There aren't real, as much pain maybe, and people can function, but there's also not as much pleasure.
Mhm.
And I feel like we have a hard time living with the paradox of that both
Mm.
pain and pleasure are important parts of life,
Yeah.
and that we don't just need to live like this, that we can roll with pain and pleasure. We can, as you say, feel it, work with
Mhm.
it in our bodies and move it through.
Yeah.
And that's where the healing is.
And even in back to the cervical practices and that work, allowing ourselves to feel more pleasure also allows us to be with more pain. And I know that you have really delved into this work, and this is the work that you are here to share with the world. I'm so curious what your perspective is.
It is the great feminine mystery of discovering the pleasure in the body. And it too involves a dissolving, a descent, an unraveling, a release, a surrender, especially with cervical work. You realize the tension you hold there, the pain you may hold there. It's a discovery, the deep discovery of your inner self. Talking about interior design.
Mm,
Wow, we're getting in the depths. It's one of the most beautiful things. I mean, in combination with subconscious work, meditation, somatic work, moving feelings through the body and dancing and exercise, all of that. This to me is unique to women. Men don't have this.
mhm,
We have this. And the further inside we go, it's like a treasure trove.
mhm,
And every experience is different, is unique. It is the work for me.
mhm,
To imagine that you and I were doing this also in
mhm.
parallel touches me.
I know, really.
So you're working on a project now.
Mhm,
You're offering something called Shed as we close up the year, this year of the snake, and we're moving into an energy next year that is more action oriented. And before we get to the action, we're first letting go of a lot.
mhm.
Do you want to talk at all about
Sure.
this beautiful process that you're offering? A month-long process, yeah?
Yeah, so we started December 1st, and it's truly, an introduction into this descent into beauty. And it's taking women through 4 daily practices, which are, um, grounding, which is like that movement that you were talking about, moving energy through the body, dance, shaking, jumping, just moving the body, creating any type of creative practice, weaving, drawing, painting, origami, anything where we're using our hands, and moving that into writing, where we're allowing those things that came up for us through these grounding practices and through these creative practices. Perhaps things like perfectionism or embarrassment, or I don't want to do this, even with myself. I don't know where to begin with this creative practice because I don't know how to do it. Um, what is coming up? Taking that into our writing. What is it that I felt when I delved into these practices? And looking at those elements that came up and writing about them. then taking that into a descent, either prayer or meditation or a guided meditation, and asking the unconscious, what is here? What is here? And so there are people that are following along in the 4 daily practices for free. And then there are people that are in a bi-weekly call with me where we are going through this process together and discussing what is coming up for us, what we're feeling, and moving those pieces into a descent. Looking at triggers to see how can these triggers be seen as a gift for ourselves, because I truly believe that they are. Every single trigger that we encounter, I've never had a trigger for myself that has not taken me into a place of discovery. Another big piece of this puzzle is that I feel like the nervous system, the body's indicators that come through these, tension in our throat, fluttering in our hearts, all of these nervous system indicators, I really believe that that is God knocking on our door saying, please come in and commune with me. I want to have union with you. And how forcefully we avoid them and just push them away and are scared of them. And it's truly an invitation, I believe. That is the work that we're doing this month in Shed. I'm excited to see how it continues to evolve and what continues to open up with Shed and where it goes deeper into this descent into beauty.
I'm excited too. I'm thrilled about this work. What would you like your legacy to be?
Mm.
Simple question.
Simple question. I I would love to be at a place at the end of my life where I can look back and see all the women who have gone into their hearts and seen the absolute beauty that lives within themselves.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah. I think just such a big message that's been coming through for me lately is just trust yourself. We all have these answers inside ourselves. Like you said, we don't have to do any particular program or anything, but it is nice to walk this journey with others and to be able to share the areas where we're having a hard time trusting and to be able to move into a place where we can trust ourselves more deeply.
Thank you for offering a space for that,
Mm,
a community for that, and for being brave enough to step out and say, we all need this. And I think I'm going to offer it
mm,
because we certainly needed it at some point.
yeah.
Where can people find you?
Jennifer Little on Instagram and jennifer-little.com online.
Perfect. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here and coming into my life. And you really are a sister to me. I
Yes.
really appreciate you for your bravery, for you offering this to all of us, for saying yes, for doing your own descent, being brave enough to go through that, and
Thank,
coming back out to tell us about
mhm.
it. So thank you.
Thank you. And yes, I feel the same way about you, a sister. And I mean, just watching your journey has been such an encouragement to me, and watching you journey into Greece and learn the language and follow this thread of sensuality. I remember a few years ago when this connection to Mary came up for you. And for you to follow this and to follow this beauty into this realm of sensuality and to give women permission to discover that within themselves is so beautiful. and to see you stepping into your purpose and following what God is asking you to follow. It's just beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. We're in it together, sis.
Mhm.